let's get on plane and get going. I'm not a fan of the Freeman handling. This one doesn't particularly want to stay in a straight line. I gotta give credit where credit's due, man. This boat is eating up some miles. What is going on, everyone? Nico Lind here with the mom again, actually. As you guys saw in the last crossing video, she came with me, and spoiler alert, we're doing another crossing together. And as you can see, we are not on the Bahama 41 whatsoever. We're actually on a beautiful 42-foot Freeman, taking it back to Florida for a friend, and should be a good one. Gonna be able to put the Freeman through his paces, give it a little test. And so I'm gonna treat this video, it's gonna be a crossing video, but it's also gonna be a 42 Freeman review. How it handles the crossing. It's not supposed to be very rough, so it's not gonna be a super intense, super rough water review, but I am gonna review the boat. I'm gonna compare it to the 41 Bahama because, as you know, I am extremely experienced with that boat, and it's what I can best compare this to, because at the end of the day, they are both, top tier center consoles, Bahala, Bahamas, CB, Freeman, all those groups, they all compete, so they're a direct comparison. And so we're headed out right now, about to reach the fuel dock. Before we get up on plane, because this is a review, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a real quick just tour of the boat to see the layout. Every Freeman layout's pretty similar, but still gonna give you a quick tour. So let me give you a walkthrough, and then we're gonna get up on plane and get going. All right, so starting up in the bow, big windlass, lockers on both sides to get to your anchor line. You have your raised forward deck that all the Freemans have. Big JL sound system, cup holders and rod holders everywhere. Storage on both sides here. Moving back, big old sun pad, which is actually a double-sided coffin box here. You have this side, absolute cavernous storage, and then the same thing coming around on this side. Like every Freeman, you have these giant floor compartments going all the way aft, just to give you a look at how big these are. Use them as fish boxes, use them as storage. Going all the way aft here. You have access into the console on both sides. And you see this one does have a tower. I'll get into that later. Easy 2CY enclosure. Oh, let me steer the boat. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Don't want to hit anything at someone else's boat, but moving at the console, got your two radios up top with some breakers, two giant 24-inch Garmins down here, C-deck place to hold your stuff, all of your breakers, sound system, Optima steering, throttle, vessel view display, little storage compartment, tons of cup holders. You have these nicely bolstered seats. You can sit or lean against it. Armrests with center console cup holder. Double row seating with 3 in the back. You can see we also have 6 JL speakers up top. The autopilot controller is actually up here, so I can be sitting right here and just reach up with my hands and touch the autopilot. Extremely useful. Moving back towards the cockpit here. Tackle storage on this side, as well as some insulated boxes back here. Garmin back here so the people in the cockpit know what you're doing. 2 storage compartments, ladder up to the tower. Rocket launcher, 2 live wells. You have the storage on both sides. And then your 400 Verados, the L6 Verados. Oh, and you do have big old in-deck live wells as well. You have the C-deck all over the boat as well. So there's your quick run through. I'm not gonna go up there right now, but upstairs there is a full electronic suite and everything. So as you can see, pretty sweet boat, pretty well laid out. A good friend of mine actually is the one who built this boat and customized it. So I know the boat pretty well. Passing the fuel lock now, so about to get up on plane. But before we do, all right, Mama, you're on the spot here. You spent a lot of time on the 41 Bahama. You have yet to go fast on this boat, but just from sitting, what are your thoughts on this compared to the Bahama?
I really like this comfy seat.
Yes, I will say, having bolster seats like this is significantly more comfortable than the bench seat we have on the Bahama, which you can get the Bahama with bolsters. We just didn't. Looking back, I wish we had, but hindsight's 2020. What else?
I don't know. It's a beautiful boat.
Oh, she doesn't like me putting her on the spot.
No.
But that's all right. We'll get out here and we'll see how she does. Compare the rides, the whole 9 yards. I already know off the bat You know, the Bahamas going to handle better. You know, the Fender handle better. In my opinion, the Freemans don't necessarily like to turn, and Bahama 41 feels like a Porsche in the turn. So little stuff like that I'm already expecting, but I'm going into this with an open mind, and you guys are going to get my reaction. So let's get on plan and get going. Real quick, before we go further into the video, I do want to take 10 quick seconds just to tell you guys that if you like this content, if you like boating, if you like the Bahamas, if you like any of that, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me, and it lets me know that you guys like the videos that I post, and like the video too. That helps. And comment below what you want to see. All of those things greatly help me. They help me make more content. They help me, and they let me know you guys like these kind of videos. But enough of that, let's get back to the video. Alright, so as you guys saw, we're out, we're around the point, and we're past Treasure, heading up towards Spanish and Crab Key. That's the route we're taking. This owner is actually letting my mom and I take this all the way to Melbourne. And so we're going, you know, Treasure up to Crab Key to Little Sail, and then from Little Sail, we're going in a straight line all the way to Sebastian. So, pretty easy trip, not a whole lot to it. But this Freeman, for whatever reason, I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not a fan of the Freeman handling. This one doesn't particularly want to stay in a straight line, more so than other ones, but that's alright. Autopilot doesn't work too well because of that. It just kind of is constantly searching for its course, and if you know catamarans, you know those sharp turns are not the most comfortable. But the actual ride of the boat, fantastic. We're sitting here in the little bit of swell coming through the Whale Key Cut, and the boat's eating it up. I mean, you can see feet up, hanging out in the chair. It's, you know, the boat, I mean, the Freeman's ride, amazing. There's no getting around that. But I just think there's going to be a lot of manual steering on my part because of the boat not wanting to stay on course on autopilot, which is going to be a little bit tiresome, but not that bad at all. You know, it should only be about a 5-hour crossing today, but we'll see. And so right now we're sitting right at about 4,300 RPM, doing 32, 33 knots, getting 0.6 nautical miles per gallon. In a second here, I'm going to kick it up probably to like 35, 36 knots. At that, I've been watching the economy. We're still going to be doing 0.6, and we're going to be right at around 4,500 RPM. So far, definitely not as fast as efficient as the Bahama, which is surprising. Was not expecting that at all. You know, at the Bahama at 4,200 RPM, I'm doing like 38 knots, getting like 0.75 nautical miles per gallon. So take that information as you will. That's my first-hand experience, but it's a beautiful morning. We're going to continue on, and I'll keep you updated. All right, so we made it to our first stop. This is Spanish right here. That's Crab. Once we get past that, I'm about to make a turn, heading straight to Little Sail, and that's our last Bahamian waypoint, and after that, straight to Sebastian. All right, so I know I said, well, first I want to address something I just said. I was talking about the performance in the Bahama compared to this with speed and economy. Let me preface this. This does have the 400 L6 Verados, the last generation of Verados, and I'm comparing it to the Bahama with its current power, which is those V10s. You can't compare the two, it's apples and oranges. You know, the V10, it's a newer motor, it's a much more torquey motor, much bigger propeller. So it's really not fair for me to compare the two in terms of that, but We did speed it up a little bit. I kicked it up to 4,500 RPM. I'm sitting at 37 knots, so really not bad at all. You know, this would be with the old motors, which we had these before we put the V10s on. We'd be getting the exact same speed. Now the economy, I'm doing like 0.65 nautical miles per gallon, which is surprising. I expected a little bit better, but you can't be picky. I'm in a giant quad engine boat with a tower, and so I can't be too picky on that. You know, it is what it is. You know, this whole boat holds 800 gallons of fuel, so the range is still crazy far. Never a question about that. But I will say this boat, and it's with all catamarans, anyone who's been on a Freeman or an Invincible Cat or a Tideline or whatever it is knows what I'm about to say here, that there is a lot more vibration. You get a little more side-to-side jitter, judder almost, you know, and there's a little bit more, you know, forward and back. It's just the nature of a cat. It's a trade-off to get that cat ride when you get in the heavy sea that just lands softly and goes every single time, which I will say, granted, we're only in the Sea of Abaco and a small following sea, but I mean, you don't feel the thing on this boat. It feels like you're just sitting still. It's a pretty impressive ride. You do get that vibration, which the Bahama doesn't get. In that respect, the Bahama is a smoother ride. And then I'd say in the sea, both the Bahama and the Freeman would be doing the same when it comes to the swells. The Bahama would just have a little bit less of that vibration. So I'm hoping once we get offshore and we get into some rougher stuff, I can really, you know, talk you through the differences I feel. But sadly, I'm not sure we're gonna get any rough weather today, but well, no, that's a great thing for the boat review's sake, sadly, but I'll keep you guys updated. I don't know, we left the dock at probably 6:20, 37 knots. It's supposed to be nice offshore. I'm hoping we can be back in the inlet before noon, back in Sebastian. It's like 200-ish miles, so we'll see. One thing I will say as we sit here and are going, it gets very tedious having to manually steer. I really wish this autopilot was a little more dialed in. I mean, it's not bad. You drive a car and have to steer, so it's really not bad, but I'm used to hitting autopilot, sitting back and letting the boat do its thing. Definitely is gonna get old, you know, a couple hours into it, constantly having to steer to keep it going towards my waypoint, which I know it's how people had to do it for a very long time. I sound spoiled right now, but it's the truth. I will have to say, this is a very comfortable cruiser. Long range trips, I love the Bahama, but as of right now, this is more comfortable with the space and the size and all that stuff. Pretty impressive rig so far. All right, so we kicked it up a notch to like 38, 39 knots, just because it's really nice out, as you can see, and I like to make some better timing. And if you guys watched the crossing video I posted a couple weeks back in our 41 Bahama, I talked about these couple of sandbars that once you get on the bank you have to watch out for. I talked about it in those videos, so I'm not going to go really in depth about them again. I'll link that video up above right now, but on the bank you do have a couple of these sandbars that you have to watch out for, because if you don't and you catch it on a low tide, you're going to be in for some expensive lower unit damage if you're in an outboard boat. Inboard boat, kiss your props and shafts and struts goodbye. But besides that, we're chugging along. I got about 12 more miles to go till I get to sail, and as I said, once I get to sail, it's straight line to Sebastian, so shouldn't be too bad. I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, so we made it to sail. You can see sail there, and then that's little sail and great sail's behind it. And so I put in Sebastian as the next waypoint, and you can see we have 131 miles to go. We're doing 40 knots. Should be there in roughly 4 hours, which not bad at all. You know, but that'll put us back at the inlet around 12, assuming we can keep 40 knots. You know, obviously it's going to get a little bit more swelly and rough in the ocean, but then again, this Freeman can take a lot and it can run at speed through a hell of a lot. So I don't know if I'm gonna have to slow down or not yet. The ocean will tell, but looks like I'm in for a long couple hours of steering, which is all right. I'm just sitting back and steering with my feet, so we're making the best of it. But so far, you know, the boat's a beast. You know, my comparison with the Bahama as of now, it stays the same. You know, it's very calm out. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to this water. You know, any boat would ride well in this. You know, both the Bahama and the Freeman, this boat, they would both, the ride quality is the same. The Freeman definitely has more of those, you know, catamaran little vibrations, I'm going to call them, which is okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just the nature of the beast. They're a little bit louder because there is a tunnel below us with water slapping into it. But again, it's just a trade-off you get because, again, I'm hoping it gets a little bit more rough offshore and I can show y'all. But this thing will go through some sea and do it at speed, you know, through a heavy sea. I honestly don't know if this or the Bahama would ride better. You know, online, and many people will tell you that the Freeman will go through a heavier sea faster. I can't say that myself. I do know, like, I mean, so far, granted, we're in a tiny following sea, but so far this thing is just, feels like I'm on a magic carpet. So very, very impressed so far with this boat. It's a Freeman, you know, everyone knows they ride well, so no one should be surprised by that. But hopefully we get into something a little bit more, you know, I'm not going to say treacherous, but thicked up a little bit so I can compare the two fairly. But as of now, I love the boat. It's a beast. Because I have to manually steer the boat, which is annoying, and I really don't want to be standing up the whole time, I've resorted to steering with my feet. Old-time boat captain tactic right here. Smile for the camera. Yep. Wait. All right, so we're chugging along. We have under 100 miles left, so pretty impressive. We've already done 100 miles. It is 8:55, about to turn 9 o'clock. We're about to get out the bank. At this rate, don't want to jinx it, but it's still calm, very, very calm, as you can see back here. We're going to be back at Sebastian Inlet before 11:30. If you know, we're able to keep up this speed and it stays calm, so fingers crossed. And I gotta give credit where credit's due, man. This boat is eating up some miles. What would you say, Mama? It's a damn impressive boat. There's a reason there's so much hype around Freeman. You know, I'm not surprised, nor should any of you guys be. Freeman's renowned for their ride. It's a pretty slick ride, and it is absolutely eating up the miles. We were just talking with my mom. We've been on the boat for 3 hours already, gone 100 miles. Doesn't feel like it at all. It's sweet, sweet ride. I still prefer the handling characteristics of a monohull and, you know, the Bahama. As I said, this thing in turns feels like a plank of wood. But, you know, 200 miles in a straight line, this thing's a beast, but that's what it's made to do. Run out 100 miles to the tuna grounds, fish seriously, and run 100 miles back in a straight line. And it does that phenomenally. And so, very, very impressed. I will say that this steering is getting very old. However, that is not a fault of the Freeman. This steering has something wrong with it, and the owner told me that before we left. He told me that it was throwing a code, and so the Optimus is slowing down the steering because of it. So I'm not holding that against the boat. I'm just saying on this particular crossing, it is very annoying. And because of that, that's why the autopilot can't keep it in a straight line. And so I'm having to constantly adjust, and with the reduced speed steering, I'm adjusting a lot. And like, if you can see the weight behind me, I'm zigzagging quite a bit to keep on my course. And so, annoying. But again, not the boat's fault. It's a steering issue. The owner knows about it. He told me about it. But besides that, A+ boat. All right, so we're offshore. We're off the bank. We're in over 1,000 feet of water, and it's straight line towards Sebastian. We got about 70 nautical miles to get there. Off the bank, it kicked up a little bit. There's probably a 3 to 4 foot swell at maybe, I don't know, 8 seconds, 7 seconds, which is accurate. The forecast was calling for 3.5 foot at 7 seconds, so very accurate forecast. About the same as when we crossed over. And again, I'm sitting here at 39 knots, and granted this is not a big sea. The Bahama 41 would be doing the exact same that I'm doing right now. But this boat is just eating up the miles and eating up the sea. And we're getting, for the most part, a following sea, which this boat takes extremely well. So far so good. I will say though, with the steering a little bit messed up, it is not very fun trying to steer this boat and keep it in this straight line in the sea, but only 70 more miles of it, so all good here. Again, the boat itself, very, very impressed. Like I said, eating up the swell at close to 40 knots like it's nothing. There's a reason Freemans are, you know, thought of so well. It's definitely a whole different feel than the monohull. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I prefer the feel of a monohull and the characteristics of a monohull. You know, and this trip is not changing that. You know, I've never been a huge fan of the Freeman, and not even Freeman, it's catamaran characteristics, but they do eat up a sea in a straight line. There's no getting around that. So, well, I'll update y'all the next time anything interesting happens, which I don't feel like it's going to be anytime soon because it's not a very rough day. I mean, look at the sea. So, I'll catch up with y'all in a little bit. I'm showing y'all this view so you can see how much steering I'm having to do right now. Here's something interesting. So the Bahama, its Garmin screen on the helm is an 8624, which is an 8000 series 24-inch screen. This boat has two of those exact same screens, two 8624s, and on the Bahama recently we've been having an issue where it thinks somebody is continuously pressing the power button. So it keeps shutting down the entire system, resetting the system, and the screen has become unusable. And so it's a touch screen malfunction. And Garmin's customer service is second to none. And so Garmin is replacing ours completely for free. And I've heard of this issue on these screens before. Well, the starboard screen on this boat is doing the exact same thing. Every once in a while, the top right, it'll come up with the shutting screen off thing, like somebody's hitting the power button. And then of course it shuts down the entire system because the entire Garmin system is interconnected. And so on this, it's strange though, when I turn everything back on, the port screen will turn back on, but the starboard screen won't turn back on for a couple minutes, and then when I hit the button it will. Like look, it just happened and I'm running fine on the port screen. Starboard screen, I have nothing. And so I guess when I was talking to the guy at Garmin, he said it's a fairly common issue with these bigger 8000 series screens. But I just find it really weird that we would have the exact same issue on two separate boats within weeks of each other. But quite annoying, and it's a little bit disconcerting. Not disconcerting, because I mean the screen works fine. It just thinks someone's hitting that power button. But it would be nice to have both screens up and running when I'm 50 miles off the Florida coast, you know, 60 miles. And so, interesting little, I guess, quirk with this boat, which is not a boat thing. We have the same issue with our screen, and I guess it's an issue with these 8000 series big screens from Garmin. I don't know, please put down in the comments below if you guys have experienced that same issue. You know, if it's happened to me on 2 different boats, 2 different units within weeks of each other, I have to imagine that a bunch of other boats is happening to them as well. So let me know if y'all have seen that. And of course, right after I finish filming that last clip, this starboard screen comes back on. It's the weirdest issue. If you guys know anything about it, please let me know. You know, we're replacing our screen, or Garmin is replacing the screen on the Bahama because of the same issue. If it becomes a persistent issue, I think it might be time just to upgrade and put the new 9000 series Garmin on there, which is a pain because the mounting is not the same. Thanks for that, Garmin. But at the end of the day, if it remedies us keep continuing to have these issues with these big 8000 series screens, we gotta do it. As we go on and get closer to Florida, it's actually getting extremely calm. We're 45 miles away from the inlet and probably, oh, I don't know, 35-ish miles away from land, period. And it's getting super calm. Just look at these conditions. It's been, I mean, I don't want to say it's turning into a beautiful crossing because it's been a beautiful crossing this whole time, but great day for it. All right, just a quick update. Nothing eventful has happened, so we've just been chugging along. I've had nothing to update you guys on, which is just the way we want these crossings. Uneventful is perfect. If it's eventful, that means we have problems. But we're 21 miles from Sebastian Inlet right now, so probably 10 to 12 miles from land, you know, Vero Beach probably. And just look at how nice the water has gotten. What a day today, absolute stunning day. And so far, again, I've told you a bunch of times, my assessment of this boat hasn't changed. It's a Freeman, it rides out. I'm personally not a fan of the characteristics, you know, the little judders and vibrations and stutters, but the thing eats it up. You know, we haven't even come close to slamming one time. Haven't had a drop of water on the boat. Overall, a super solid boat.
Nowhere to go and nowhere to be.
All right, we're 12.5 miles from Sebastian Inlet, and we can see the beach. I hope it comes through on the camera. I have no clue if y'all can see that on the camera, but oh, there it is over there. You're gonna have to trust me if you can. Feels good to be back in Florida waters. Sad to be out of the Bahamas, but glad to be back in Florida. Just look at how nice this water has gotten. Absolutely glass. Absolutely glassing out. What a day for a crossing. Woo, all right. Sebastian Inlet is in my sights. We're headed straight to it. Right now we're about 5 miles out. So once we get closer, I'm gonna put y'all on the forward facing cam off the hardtop so y'all can see the the journey getting through Sebastian. It's a mid-tide, so there might be a little bit of a standing swell, but there's like zero wind at all today, so I don't expect it to be very rough or hard to navigate whatsoever. The only thing you gotta worry about is the fishing lines from all the people fishing off the pier, which you guys will see in the video up here, but we're back. Woo! We made it in the river. We're through Sebastian in the river. As you can see in that video, on the weekends, Sebastian is an absolute madhouse, and a lot of these people have no earthly clue what they're doing, and so it makes it a little bit dangerous in my opinion. But also, this boat, with its extremely slow and delayed steering because it's in limp mode essentially, again, not a hit to the boat at all. It's just the steering itself is in limp mode. It's nowhere near as responsive as it usually is. Holy bejesus, as you guys saw, weaving through, getting through the inland, then weaving through the channel and having to weave through all the little boats. Woo! I actually had to slow down a couple times because I just didn't have faith that the boat would turn in time. And so that was interesting. And again, Freemans or catamarans in general, they're not exactly known for their handling. Like I said, most of them turn like a plank of wood in the water. And so that compounded with this steering system, not, you know, 100%, woo, made things a little bit dicey, but we made it. We're in the river, going up to the house. Feels sad to be back because I'm out of the Bahamas, but good to be back in Florida. And it's always nice to know that I'll be back in the Bahamas in a week. So, here we go. All right, so we made it back. We just made it back to the no wake zone by the house. Easy, one of the easiest crossings we've done. We made great timing. What was it, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 15 minutes? I think to the dock, add another 35 minutes to it. So under 6 hours dock to dock, not bad whatsoever. Final thoughts on the Freeman, because this is somewhat of a little review video, kind of halfway comparing it to a Bahama. The boat's a beast. It's an absolute beast. And we're used to monohulls. Again, we have a Bahama 41, so that's what we're used to. You know, Bahama 41 is a great boat. This thing is a sweet, sweet boat. I'm not a cat fan myself. I don't like the performance characteristics of a cat. Like I said, I think they kind of turn like a plank of wood. And that's when you're underway, you get a lot of these little vibrations and judders side to side, that kind of stuff, which you don't get in the monohull, which I'm just not a fan of. It's nothing against the Freeman, nothing against the cats. It's just my personal preference and what I like. And like you get in the Bahama, and today we probably would have had a little bit more up and down in the Bahama. We wouldn't have been slamming it all, but definitely some more up and down, whereas the Freeman kind of just ate it up. But we would have had a lot less kind of vibrations, creaks, all that sort of stuff in the Bahama. And when it comes to turns, I mean, the Bahama feels like a Porsche GT2 RS in turns. This thing feels like you're a Fiat without a motor, you know? And so, but that's us in turns. I know, but that's not a shot on Freeman. It's the nature of a catamaran. This boat's made to go 120 miles in a straight line to the fishing grounds, fish the hell out of those grounds, and run 120 miles back and eat up the sea while it does it. And it does that arguably better than any other boat on the water. So, awesome boat. Yeah, not my taste. You know, I already knew I wasn't a giant cat fan before this. This wasn't going to change my mind. But nonetheless, sweet boat. One of the fastest crossings I've ever done because this thing can hold its speed well through a sea. Probably better than the Bahama. Probably could definitely hold its speed better through a sea than the Bahama. Today, we averaged, I don't know, 41 knots. Probably would have been slowing down a little bit in the Bahama. Maybe 38 knots, something like that. Not too far off, but pretty sweet. Mom, this is like she hates when I put her on the spot. Hates it. But she's used to the Bahama 41, used to a monohull. This was her first time ever on a cat. And so this opinion you're about to hear is from somebody used to monohulls in the Bahama. What do you think of the boat?
I like the boat. I like the boat. I agree with you. I'm more of a monohull person. But it rode very well.
Oh, it rode fantastic.
This was probably the most comfortable ride I've had.
Yeah. That was awesome. But it's just it's the little weird things about a cat ride, you know, little shakes back and forth, side to side. And also the thing this does, I mean, the steering on this boat is not proper, so it's hard for me to say, but like, man, the handling. Well, I personally would not give up the handling to get that little bit of extra ride quality you get in a Freeman. I personally rather, and I don't think there's even a hit on ride quality, many people do. I personally would happily take a tiny hit on ride quality just to get the handling characteristics of the Bahama 41 in a high-end monohull like that. But great boat nonetheless. I love doing the crossing, and I'll cross one of these things any days. Beautiful boat, well-built boat. Really loved it. Alright, well that's it for this video. I hope you guys like these crossing and review videos I do. I'm going to try to do them more because I really enjoy filming them. I like getting on different boats and reviewing them and all that stuff, and I think you guys enjoy it too. So again, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below what you want to see. It helps me, it helps the channel, and if you enjoy watching these videos, it helps me make more of these videos. But that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next video, which is going to be back in the Bahamas with some more Bahamas content.
Bye.